So it's Tuesday evening, and I'm at the gym. And I just finished boxing. I was feeling really good, high on endorphins and adrenaline, and I go to the locker room to put up my boxing gloves. I come back out, and I look to my left, and I say, "Oh my God, what do I do?" It was my middle school crush. We're gonna call him James Dean. And for context, I was obsessed with this guy for not just middle school, but into high school as well. So until I was like a sophomore in high school. So that's like 3.5 years. I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? Do I make eye contact and smile? Do I just walk the other way? Do I like try to talk to him? What do I do? And I'm genuinely scared to go pretty much anywhere in my town because I'm like, who am I gonna see today? Because for some reason I always end up running into some huzz or ex-friend anywhere. And so I'm I'm terrified. I walk the other way. I can't do it. I didn't know what I I genuinely was just trying to avoid all possible interaction. So I go to the leg press machine and I start to hit legs. And the leg press machine is directly in front of one of the arm pulley downer thingy. Like I'm not really guys, I'm not a gym nerd, okay? Like I don't know any of this stuff. One of these arm machines is directly in front of the leg press. He comes over to that machine. Why? I don't know. But I was like, "Don't look at him. Don't look at him. Gia, don't." And so I closed my eyes or I looked up and I was like, "Okay, just lock in on your legs and your hamstrings and your glutes and it'll be fine." When I took a break, I could kind of feel him like looking to the side a little bit. Like I had direct view of him. He was directly in front of me, but I could not look at him because I couldn't. I could feel him, like, kinda looking at me, like, kinda noticing, and I'm like, God, does he recognize me? Like, does he knows who I am? Like, "Oh, it's that girl that was obsessed with me for 3.5 years," like, ah. Now at some point in all of my distress, we made eye contact. Crazy, crazy, I know. Nowadays, eye contact means marriage, basically. Just kidding. But at the same time, like, because I am who I am, I'm like, "Oh, basically, so we're, like, engaged at this point because we made eye contact." We make eye contact, and I realize, "Oh, that's not James Dean. That's not him. That's not my middle school crush. Thank God." And so I'm like, "Okay, so if it's not him, but he's still cute, then you should talk to him, you know?" So I made a promise to myself. I was like, "2026 is the year that you get out of your shell, get out of your comfort zone, stop caring what other people think, and do things for you. Get over the fears that you've been dwelling on for so long." Do you know what I mean? And one of those fears is talking to guys. Hot guys. Like I could talk to guys that I don't think are attractive and that I'm not interested in like as like a romantic partner, I guess. However, guys that I'm attracted to, I can't bring myself to talk to them. So anyway, he goes to a different machine and I see him talking to these high schoolers and I'm like, "Okay, so this guy, he could be in high school. He's probably in high school. This is good." And so then I end up going to, the leg extensions, doing the whole glute thing, whatever, whatever. Now, this day I did not want to hit arms. I did not want to lift weights. I didn't want to do any of that because I was just not feeling it, but I ended up lifting weights because I was low-key stalling a little bit. Just to see, like, what happened, like, just to see if he would talk to me or, like, if I actually could bring myself to talk to him. Um, Even though I promised myself that, I was like, "I'm not actually sure if I am going to," but. First of all, let me just say this guy was wearing cargos to the gym, cargo pants to the gym, which I thought was weird. I'm like, "Why what? What are you doing?" It was kinda cute, you know what I mean? It's different. It's unique. He also had this great, like, 90s middle part haircut, and I love that. I love that. So I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I like what's going on here, okay?" So I'm lifting weights. I'm getting in the zone. I close my eyes. I listen to my music. I'm, like, jamming out, whatever. I open my eyes, and I see in the mirror, he is walking out the door. No, I'm like, "Gia, if you wanna talk to this guy, you need to do this now. If you want anything to happen, you're gonna do this now. And so I'm like, okay." Mind you, I was on an adrenaline high, endorphins rushing through my body. I was like, "Okay, just do something." Sprint out the door after him. All these people looking at me like, "What is she doing? This girl, what's happening?" Literally sprinting full speed, like jogging, like not just jogging, like heavily jogging, like out the door. I scramble when I get to the door and I look at the front desk guy and I'm like, "Hey, dude, if I leave, I can come back in, right?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, whatever, just go." I feel like he knew what was up, so thank you to that guy. Middle of the parking lot, I skirt up next to this dude, and I go, "Hi," and he goes, "Oh, hey, hey," and I'm like, I like your pants," and he goes, "Thanks," and I was like, and I also like your hair," and he was like, "Thank you, I like your hair too," and I was like, "Thank you." Are you from around here? You go to school around here?" He was like, "Yeah, I go to da 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 da." It's this, um, like state/community college, like about 20-30 minutes away. In my head, I'm like, "Okay, he's in college." I go, "What year are you in?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm a sophomore." And I was like, "Oh, that's great. That's really cool." Mind you, I'm 17, I'm a senior in high school, right? Right? Don't think this is gonna happen at this point, but I still keep talking to him. He's like, "Hey, where do you go to school?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I live in the area. I go to school like 30-40 minutes away. It's this like whole thing." And he was like, "Oh yeah, I know that school." I was like, "Wow, that's great." He was like, How old are you?" And I was like, "Um, I'm 17." And he was like, "Okay, right, okay. That's." So he was thinking about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. He was like, "Oh, she's cute." Like I could see the wheels turning and then it being a letdown because I'm like younger than him. Whatever. I'm also not 18 yet. And I was like, but I'm gonna be 18 soon and I'm going to college. I'm a senior in high school." And he was like, "Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm my little brother's a senior in high school." I was like, "Oh, does he go to the local school, local high school?" He was like, "Yeah, he goes there." And I was like, "Nice. What's his name?" He goes, "James Dean." My middle school crush is his younger brother. My middle school obsession is his younger brother. How embarrassing. Genuinely, I put my palm to my forehead. It was a visceral reaction. I was like, "Oh." And he was like, Do you do you know him?" I was like, "Yeah. Yeah, we went to middle school together." And he was like, "Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, he's a hoot." This dude is not just a hoot. He was like the most popular kid in school. Um Low key like a bop. I was like, "Yeah, yeah, a hoot he is. That is what he is. He is a hoot." I'll that's accurate, I guess. And, since he was my middle school obsession, I knew everything about his family, I knew everything about his home life and like his social security, not literally, but like this is an exaggeration. I listened to everything that he said if he said it in a public setting. Do you know what I mean? And so I was like, "Oh, well now I know that you're James Dean's older brother. I'm gonna guess what brother you are cuz James Dean had like two other brothers." I was like, "You're Marlon Brando." And he was like, "Yeah, that's me." Okay, why am I just naming like these 50 these 50s actors that all happen to be really hot? He was like, "Yep, that's me." And I was like, "Oh, and your older brother is Gregory Peck." And he was like, "Yeah, yeah." Weird. How do you know that, girl who just randomly skirted up to me in the middle of a parking lot outside of the gym? Yes, it is embarrassing. Yes, I realize how stupid I would look and sound. But after the whole kerfluffle, I walk back inside. I take some deep breaths. I can feel my heart pounding and my head spinning and my pulse racing. And I'm like, "Okay, let's get back to it." So I start lifting weights again. I'm feeling way stronger because I actually talked to this guy, but then I'm like, but at the same time, I'm thinking he's gonna go home and tell James Dean. Like, I was so anxious. I can't even begin to tell you how humiliated that occurrence was. I was bamboozled. I was baffled. I was baffled at how that whole situation went down. I was just expecting to like get this guy's Instagram and like call it a day. I mean, but I pat myself on the back, not just because I felt strong and like I accomplished a lot in the gym that day physically, but also because I actually did get out of my comfort zone and I went to go talk to this guy. I basically made myself look stupid in front of all these people in the gym, sprinting after him into this parking lot. And I took a risk, and the risk didn't end up as well as I thought it would, but it was still interesting because I learned something about myself that I can do things that I feel like I can't, and I learned something about him. So what I'm trying to say, my point of telling the story is regret. That's kind of the theme of today's episode. And regret comes a lot from overthinking and anxiety. I realize that I regret things that I haven't done more often than things that I have done. For years, I was like regretful of not starting a podcast earlier so I could get more experience, so I could gain more of a following, so I could elaborate more on the things that I was learning in from when I was younger. If I just do it and see where it goes, I won't have any regrets because I'll know like what happened. I'll know the end result. I was actually with some people today and this one dude said, "What ifs will really screw you up." You know, they'll mess with your head if you always think what if, what if, what if. And I can attest to that. I mean, I really feel like what ifs have screwed with my like perception when I'm a lot more scared to just do things, when I'm a lot more scared to get out there and experience life tangibly and emotionally, but like the raw elements of those, like I think like, "Oh, but what if I did that? Like what if I wasn't scared to do that thing, to start that hobby, to take that risk?" And there have been so many opportunities that have presented themselves to me that I haven't taken advantage of because I was scared of what other people might think. Because I was overthinking every little aspect that could go wrong. I was caught up in my own head. And honestly, people are way more involved in their own head. Like they're thinking so much about like what they're doing and what they've done wrong and their regrets and their fears and their own life. They're so caught up in their own head that they're not even like registering what you're doing most of the time. And if they do, they forget about it like literally 5 minutes later. And so when you are overthinking all the time and you're perpetually scared of what if this bad thing happens and not like turning around that perspective and thinking like even if this bad thing happens. So like in my case, before I ran out of the gym after, what did I name him? Marlon Brando. um Instead of thinking like, "Oh, but what if I totally say something wrong and like am not myself and I put up a facade because I'm trying to impress him in some way," which is like that's a fear of mine as a type 4 on the Enneagram. Like I'm genuinely scared of losing sight of myself and my own identity. And I don't want to put up I don't want to put up a front in front of anybody. Which sometimes I do. I mean, actually, oftentimes I do. And so I'm working on that in 2026. However, instead of thinking like, "Oh, what if I screw up? What if everybody looks at me like I'm a crazy person? Like what if I'm perceived as stupid?" Thinking like, even if people look at me like I have 3 heads, at least I put myself out there. At least I took a risk. At least I risk it for the biscuit. You know what I mean? And if I don't get the biscuit, it's great lore for my kids one day. Literally every time I've told that story to anybody, jaws on the floor. James Dean was Marlon Brando's younger. Wait, no. Marlon Brando's is Marlon. What am I trying to say? Bro, these code names are screwing me up. I really do think the root of my regret in life comes from overthinking. And so I was curious and I looked up like the psychology of overthinking and I found this one website. It's Nick Wignall's website. He is a psychologist and writer. Or before my AP research teacher comes from me and is like, "Is this a peer-reviewed source? Like, is this from Harvard University or Cornell?" This is for a podcast, not my AP research project, okay? These were the things that stuck out to me most. Things that maintain this constant cycle of overthinking and constant like habit. And we do these things like we overthink subconsciously. We don't even think about like, oh, I'm overthinking right now, or oh, I should overthink about this. Let me just do it naturally. This really hit me because I really do think that I try to control so many things in my life, especially things that I don't have control over, like people's perceptions of me. Because I can control like my actions and I can do what I want or don't do what I don't want or et cetera, et cetera. But I can't control how other people think of me from the outcomes of my actions or situations. So this article said, quote, "We overthink things because it gives us the illusion of control and keeps our helplessness at bay." Now, as humans, we generally don't like to feel helpless. Um, I mean, we have this imperfect desire for power. And honestly, this comes from some toxic social norms of like, oh, I can do everything on my own and I don't need this independent mindset. And I think this is really really evident in America because there's so many other cultures like tribal cultures who they rely on their community to help them get through hard times or they help their own community. Deep inside of us like we have this instinct for community and longing for community. And so this idea of like having to be stronger than everybody else and take care of yourself is honestly it's going against like our human nature, our the core root of who we are as human beings. Yeah, and then obviously overthinking can come from perfectionism. I would consider myself in a lot of cases a perfectionist. I think being a perfectionist is not about being perfect, but feeling perfect because we know as humans we are not perfect and we're going to make mistakes and we're going to screw up. However, as a perfectionist, you just want to feel like you've done everything right and that everything is perfect and that you're accomplishing good things. This can derive out of like external validation and like this craving for kind of wanting to receive that love from others, like this fear of like constructive criticism or being perceived as stupid or like looking a fool. We just want to look perfect at all times, which you know what? Yeah, it's kind of performative. But yes, this fear of constructive criticism can kind of relate back to the fear of being helpless. We don't want anybody to give us like critique on, especially on our own stuff. Like we want to be this independent autonomous person, but it can be twisted. Like being independent, being autonomous is a great thing and you should ultimately strive to be independent but in a healthy way because there's this toxicity that revolves around being your own person. Another thing that really stuck out to me was it basically talked about the avoidance of external conflict can in turn result in a lot of internal conflict. So personally, I don't like when other people fight. I don't like when other people argue. I don't like that external conflict. And I don't like being in fights with other people. I just want everyone to be at peace and I want everybody to be happy and like cupcakes and rainbows and sprinkles and like love and sunshine. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, I do really like melancholy aspects of life, which is why I'm so drawn to like overthinking is because I think so much about pretty much everything, honestly. Whether that's good, whether that's bad, whether that's sad, but this avoidance of facing things head on and in reality can bring all of that conflict into your mind, and that's honestly it can be even more destructive if it's internal conflict. If you're fighting fights in your head only, and you're not going out into the world and existing in the present and facing fears and talking to people and finding community. And if that, I mean, that's gonna, life comes with conflict anyway, so you're gonna have to face conflict. But if you just shut it all down externally, it'll build up internally, which is so detrimental to your mental health, and it can lead you to spiral into all sorts of different things. So my point is, like I mentioned in the last episode, when I talked about kind of like New Year's resolutions or aspirations that I kind of have for 2026, one of them was doing things for me and living for me, and not, again, for external validation. Apparently that's like external validation is something that's really been sitting heavy in my life recently. I've given so much energy and time into other people that I didn't reciprocate it and feed it back into myself. I let other people basically drain like the energy out of me. And I was really just tired of that. And this year I was like, I'm going to start taking risks because I've been so afraid of doing that in the past. If I say one thing wrong, if I embarrass myself in any way, shape, or form, the world is gonna end. And that's basically how I viewed life. But even like as an actor, I have to take risks anyway. And so doing it in real life can kind of give me a head start for being a successful actor in the future. And when I mean successful, it doesn't mean like, oh, I'm rich and famous and I'm like in Hollywood and in all of these movies or like on Broadway or whatever. Being successful can really be like adaptable into your own way, because like I feel like people think that being a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad and like that's your full-time job, that's supposedly like not successful. But if that's your goal in life, is to have a family and raise like kids and be that parental figure that feeds love and compassion and this unconditional grace and devotion to your family, like that's not unsuccessful. Do you know what I mean? And in life you're going to have to take risks. Anyway, do you know, it makes me think about What About Bob, the movie, because Bob was like so scared to go out of his house because he was scared that something bad was going to happen to him. You can't live like that, because there is so much good in the world as much as there is bad, and as much as something bad could happen. It's not like what if something bad happens. It's even if this bad thing happens, I went out into the world and I was present in the moment. And gratitude is also something that you should be practicing that could really just make your day successful. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm practicing gratitude so that my life is successful and so that I make a lot of money and get a lot of huzz. Life is a day-by-day journey, and if you take one step at a time, you'll get where you need to go. But you can't do that if you stay huddled up in your shell 24/7. So thank you for listening to my TED Talk and a little lore drop, because that was really fun. I hope you guys enjoyed. New episodes of Freeverse are out every Sunday. You can listen on Spotify, or you can tune in to video podcasts on YouTube. Actually, now, one day I'm going to get an RSS and I'm going to publish my podcast to all different, like every single platform. Right now, we're starting small and we're taking it step by step, day by day. You know what I'm saying? You can also follow my YouTube channel, Gia Boucher. Okay, this was so fun. I hope you guys had fun, because I had fun, and I hope that we can have fun together in the future. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Talk to you guys soon.